Welcome back, friends. I'm here this morning to make a slight correction to a video I released last night. Thank you very much to Bright Eyes 53, who in all capitals in my comments section reminded me that I made an error in reading one of my charts. One of my charts yesterday that I have Grok generate, where I process the transcript and it puts things in chart form after the fact. When it comes to, in this example, the allegations against Dawn Wells by way of Mary Hartman and Jeannie, I had read on my chart that Mary was being mistreated since the age of 5, and that was incorrect. That was Jeannie. Everything else in the video is accurate, but I misread a part on that chart, and I kind of feel silly for it now in hindsight. Anyway, I corrected it in the comment section, and it's just a slight clarification. All of the other information in that is, correct. Other than Mary stated on Chris McDonough that she wasn't SA'd in that sense. She was ABUSED by Don and part of his narcissistic cycle in that sense. But she was much older. I believe she was 13. So let me just read you, for the sake of clarifying. Bright Eyes says, AB, you were wrong about Mary. It was Jeannie he essayed from 5 years old, but he also have done things to Mary. Go and watch Chris McDonough again. He has all the facts. Well, yes, thank you. It's like, sometimes I start with, from memory, their Bright Eyes, and then I go and get the transcript. All of the information is right from the transcript from Chris McDonough's shows in that sense. Sometimes what happens is, where things can go awry is when you take the transcript and Google Translate, which is often filled with errors, mispronunciations. It misunderstands people's accents and things like this. Not so much in this particular case, just sometimes. But so when you copy and paste that and take that, you have to know or recognize or take a look or edit it or take parts out of it if it gets too out of whack, or it can translate into inaccurate information on your charts. It's not the end of the world in this circumstance. It's not like I'm getting to know the Summer Wells case. I can see the errors when they happen. However, I skipped over this one and read Mary had been essayed when, in fact, it was Jeannie in that sense since the age of 5. Not both of them. Just a slight clarification. Mary Hartman, Dawn Wells' stepsister, mistreated starting at the age of 13 with accomplices involved in at least one incident. She described Dawn's manipulation, theft-prone behavior, like stealing family items for rugs. She runs a YouTube channel, Mary's Dinner Drinks Recipes, and is portrayed as outspoken. Jeannie is Dawn Wells' other stepsister, mistreated starting at the age of 5, lasting 7 years. His daughter Trish also came forward. Jeannie highlights Dawn's entitlement and lack of remorse. Both women filed reports in Utah. Is that correct? Did both women file reports in Utah? I think it is, leading to an investigation involving 7 total survivors, some non-family. Mary and Jeannie proposed over on Chris as a handoff theory for Summer's disappearance, not a random abduction. They base it on Dawn's modus operandi, entitlement, rug addiction, theft, manipulation, and using family, including children, as leverage for gain. They emphasize this is speculative, derived from 35 years of knowing him. Well, how many of you out there feel the handoff theory in this sense. Now, what would that mean? Because it was from this that we got the stories about Don's alleged history in trying to, if you can believe it or not, sell another child in a situation. Now, it seems so outlandish, but when the story is really when Don was in the throes of his addiction, he was seen at a drug den trying to exchange one of his children for money. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean to us? It would seem more likely that Don or an individual like that may be trading or otherwise trafficking their child for purposes of a carnal nature in that sense. I'm trying to keep this algorithm friendly. The problem is this video, by the way, this video yesterday, Don's list of accusations. You sit down there. It took me 40 minutes to make that video, reading out the allegations and the situation with it. And it's so bad that it triggered the YouTube algorithm. It's too disturbing of a narrative for advertisers. You know you're in pretty bad when you're in that territory with Don. You know your background is just horrible when you can't even read the charges without getting tagged by the algorithm now, or the allegations, we'll say, in this situation. Oh, and another thing. This idiot Batgirl. Hey, Batgirl, what are you doing even watching my videos if you're down in my comment section screaming at me that we already know Don was home that day? I'm looking for an engaging conversation. This isn't a news broadcast, honey. We're here for engagement into the conversation surrounding the Summer Wells case. And I've been here since day one, honey. Batgirl, if my content bothers you so much, change the channel. Change the channel there, honey baby. But she's leaving comments about how bored she is. We already know all this. Next, why don't you move on to something that's worth actually talking about? Uh-huh. Well, maybe I will. So this handoff theory that they proposed was early on when they came forward based off of how they knew Don Wells to be. In my mind, I'm still stuck on this Don being home thing. It's not like I don't believe it. I'm looking for all of the factors as to what makes people think this. And we've gotten there. We've seen some of the leakage, for example. Justin was featuring it over on his channel the other day. There's other examples of I think what would otherwise be known as leakage over there. I should go over and pull that up. Nonetheless, personally, up to a certain point in the Summer Wells case, I just gave Don the benefit of the doubt. So it's not like I'm stuck in thinking that because, you know, the official narrative will say, the one that's talked about, the story that the parents gave the TBI or the police at the moment would suggest, and he suggested that he was at work, but nobody could identify him at work, just a bunch of people assuming that he was at a particular home in Johnsonville, if I remember correctly. Now, I've seen people try to nail it down to a particular time that they feel that he was home by. Leave me a comment in the section below if you have a timeline, but I don't care about what you believe. I want to know why you believe it. I want to know why exactly you are under that belief system, as in some examples. And if you can pull a timestamp, like from something Don had said, that would be an ideal example. See, I'm open to him being home, but all that would suggest to me is that they're being deceptive. And obviously, they're being deceptive for a particular reason, I know. But what I'm getting at is that I don't need to know the exact time to get me misdirected. Just the fact that his timeline isn't as he portrayed it to be to the investigators would be obviously a huge red flag, but a reason to probe him even further and go about your investigation from that direction however you need. Is it something that you're going to be able to prove? But it does open up the possibility as to what happened to Summer. Like, I'm completely open to it. I'm just very curious as to where you guys sit. So, we've witnessed Dawn and Candace, fight about some crazy things. And the example that I'm thinking of is when she was over at Molly Golightly's channel with Laura. And I'm not sure who else was on the panel. And Dawn and Candace came up to do an interview with Molly, and they started fighting because Candace closed the door, and it got pretty ugly. They were hammered, not caring that they were alive at the time. And you got to see the dynamics of their relationship internally, especially when they've been drinking. Now, I look at that in context with what sort of conflict could have been going on. Would Dawn, do you think, be a jealous type of individual? Do you think that Dawn would care about what Candace was up to? Like, for example, this flirtation with Jose Roman. Was he mad because he was maybe feeling that he was losing control having Candace and Grandis there at the house? And behind his back, in that sense, when he was out working and they're staying home, she's, getting together with randos that she picks up from the gas station, for example, or going and hanging out with Hunter, and she's becoming, what would the term be I'm looking for? Amorous? Overly amorous with Hunter, and essentially engaging in an inappropriate relationship with an underage boy. Do you think that Dawn experiencing this would in turn harm and bring harm to Summer, or take his needs or desires as a man out on his daughter over his wife in that sense? Was there something that got in between them, that they weren't happy with one another in the bedroom in that sense? And it went too far for Dawn? Did he take out his aggressions on his own daughter and have to get rid of the body on that June 15th? Remember Dudley, Ajan, Dawn's co-worker, talking about how bizarre Dawn's behavior was towards him in that sense? Anyway, I'll sum it up right here. This is, I just wanted to clarify it for everybody, especially, who is this? What's your name? Bright Eyes 53. Thank you for reminding me. I'd feel bad about that. Again, it was just a slight correction. I read out Mary had been mistreated from the ages of 5, and I meant to say Jeannie in that sense. But everything else is really as accurate as it can be, as far as I know. Thank you for the comment, and yeah, let's get this conversation started. Everybody except you, Batgirl. Peace.